What's going on, guys? PXCam20 back in with a brand new video. So today's video is not gonna be like my other videos. This one is actually gonna not even be one of some of my brightest highlights. Honestly, I was just struggling today on this racetrack, as this is probably the one of the worst days I've ever had on GT Sport. I just could not get a lap put together correctly. I couldn't finish a race correctly, and you can actually see, even from the beginning on my first lobby for this week, like this is what ended up happening. As we are jumping into our first lobby right here, we are getting ready for the start, and then all of a sudden we get this glitch where nobody can start the race, where everyone is just running straight into the barrier, going left and right, going backwards, not having any control with their car. And from that moment, I should have known that this was not going to be a good day on GT Sports. So before we jump into the video, we're trying to reach a goal of 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So if you guys enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Anyways, that's enough from myself. Let's jump into this horrible day of GT Sport. So as we jump into our first race, we are actually in a D-rated lobby. So because of the race previous, we actually got demoted down because of our safety rating. So me and I think the top four are all A plus ranked drivers, but everyone behind is D rank, which it's just fine. We can just ride around here and hopefully get our situation up and get our safety level up. But not only that, I get to race with a couple of people that are in lower lobbies, and just kind of get an experience of what it's like racing with the D lobbies again. It's been a while since I've been down there, but as we're coming down to the straightaway here, we are actually getting challenged by fourth place as we head into this hairpin. Coming to the hairpin, you see fourth place tries to make a move onto the inside, and we have to give him the position there. If not, we would have made contact with him and risked spinning ourselves out. So just racing really cleanly here, as we do not want to get involved in any trouble. We just want to get out of this lobby so we can get back to racing with the A plus and A ranked drivers, and increase our driver ratings as we fast forward here into the middle sector of the track. So coming out of these four right-handers, we're actually getting a good run here on the straightaway as we're catching up to the Volkswagen, and we're making a move onto the outside, going side by side until we head into the final two corners. We're gonna brake very late, but the Volkswagen actually outbrakes us. As you see, the Audi ahead of us gets a little bit wide. But coming to the end of this lap here, we actually lose it on the straightaway as we come out of that corner, and we spin out there. As you see, fifth is now starting to catch it back up to us. We're trying to get back onto the track. The Porsche avoids making contact with us, and we are now demoted all the way in sixth place. So you can see the Mexicans now trying to make an overtake on us on the outside, as he's got better momentum than us on the straightaway. So jumping into lap number two, we are now in seventh place as we're heading to the first corner. I'm focused so much on the Mexican, I didn't even realize that there was a car underneath me. So that was my fault, honestly. It wasn't the car behind me's fault. He had the right to stay underneath me, but I was too focused on the car ahead of me, and I ended up just spinning myself out because I didn't see him down there, running into him. And we are now in 15th place, almost in last place. So this is going to be really interesting, since we are a little bit faster than the cars behind us. So we are now just focusing our sights on the GTR ahead of us and trying to see if we can get around him. So in 15th place, a lot of mistakes that has been happening, as again we are all the way back in the back into the pack. So we're just gonna try to see if we can make a move on the GTR. He brakes very early, and we were able to make the overtake on the inside heading into the hairpin. So at least we're now up into 14th place as we come out of the hairpin, and set our sights on 13th place and see if we can try to overtake as many cars as we can before the end of the race. So coming to the end of the lap, you see there's another car on the outside. I think he got rammed out to the outside, and there's a couple of guys ahead of us that have penalties. So this is going to be very interesting, as the penalty zone is not for maybe a few turns on the next lap. So as we come into lap number 3, we're just focusing on the guys with the penalties. But not only that, the guys ahead of us, he brakes very early. We have to make an evasive action right there, as we almost run into the back of the Porsche. And the Porsche is able to kind of outrun us, but we are able to catch back up to him now as we come into the chicane. And going to the chicane, you see that he's just trying to make a move around the GTR with the penalty, as the GTR and the Porsche ahead of him has to serve the penalties. As you can see, both of them are serving the penalties now. And we go past the GTR. We got to go onto the outside of the Porsche. If not, we would have slammed into him, since he just ghosted out. And as we head into the hairpin, you see there's another Porsche that's ghosting right there. We have to take evasive action, get on the outside of the Porsche, as we are now going side by side with some cars, but he was able to make overtake on us, the blue Porsche. And so now we're behind these two Porsches here. There's a couple of cars ahead of us that are actually getting a little bit squirrely, and they are now ghosted here as we are now on the outside. We actually get tagged by the Corvette, And I think what happened was that he actually had out ghosted, and I thought he was still ghosted, but we tried taking a wide sweeping entrance in, and we make contact with the Corvette, and we end up spinning out as we are jumping forward into the race. So jumping a little more forward into the race, we're right behind the Corvette in ninth place as we're trying to catch up to him now. Just taking our time here as we're heading to the S's, and I do not want to spin out anymore, so we're just going to take our time and look for the best time to make an overtake on the Corvette ahead of us as he goes very, very slow going into here. We actually then accidentally make contact with him as I just had too good of a run coming out of the final corner of the S's as we head into the four right-handers. Coming to the four right-handers, the Corvette gets a little bit loose, and he actually loses his traction there as we are able to make an overtake on him and capitalize on the mistake. So we are now up into 7th place as we come into the final lap. So coming to the final lap, we're trying to make a move on to the inside of the Toyota, but he can see he parked the apex right there, and we accidentally make contact with the back of him. But we try to get a good run coming out of the final corner. We're gonna see if we can get at least 6th place as we come down to the line, but we actually finished before that because the leader had actually finished the race 50 seconds prior to that, and we actually don't even make it to the start finish line. So we finished that race in 7th place as we jump up into our second race. So coming to our second race, this was the next race after the one before. So you can see we are now ranked up with a little bit higher cars as we were jumping our way up the safety ratings. So now we are higher in the S safety rating as we come into the first chicane for the first time on lap number 1. We make a little bit of contact with the Volkswagen, and that actually loses momentum for us as we actually get overtaken by the Brazilian now, and we are demoted back into 3rd place as we did start on the pole, but already off to a bad start as we are now in 3rd place heading to the hairpin. Coming to the hairpin, we try to defend our spot here, but we actually outbrake ourselves, and now we are going side by side with the car behind us as he's trying to make a move onto the inside on the S's here. Going to the S's, he forces his way down there as we make a little bit of contact, and he's able to overtake us now as we come into the end part of the S's. And like again, I'm just trying to race cleanly with everybody because I just want to get back to the A+ and A rank lobby so that we can at least try pushing and not have to worry about crashing into other people as we come into the final corner. So coming to the final corner, we're still right behind the Mustang here as we come out of the final corner. Going into lap number 2, now we're on the straightaway. We're just staying right behind the Mustang on the slipstream, and we're just going to follow him as we head into turn number 1 and see if we can try to make any type of move going into the chicane. As we move into turn number 1, we're moving on to the inside as we're trying to get a good run here, but the Mustang is able to cover us. As you can see, first and second are going side by side. One of them actually goes to the dirt. Going into the left-hander of the first part of the chicane, we're staying right behind the Mustang. As you see, first and second are losing time there as the Mustang's gaining a bunch of time on them. And you can see that the Argentinian now has a penalty there as the Mustang's trying to make a move onto the inside, makes contact with the Brazilian, and the American actually just forces his way down there. As you can see, he's now going to make the overtake on the Brazilians. They're going side by side onto this hairpin. We try to brake as late as we can here as we're trying to get a cutback onto the Brazilian and see if we can also make an overtake, but we are unable to do so now as the Mustang is now making or trying to make an overtake on the Porsche as they're making contact with each other into the S's. The Brazilian edges out the American here, and we are stuck right behind the Mustang still as we make contact with the American, and we're just staying right behind him now as we come into the 4 right-handers. And the Mustang actually brakes very, very early, and we almost made contact with him. We had to slam on the brakes, and you see that invites 5th place to catch up to us now, as we're just following the American, the Brazilian, and the Argentinian down to the straightaway and just trying to find any way to get around these guys without making any type of contact, so we can avoid making any type of penalties here and losing even more safety ratings. So jumping into the final corner here, we don't gain any positions as we're still right behind the American, but we are trying to catch up to him now as we come into the chicane. So coming to the chicane, the Brazilian and the Argentinian are making contact with each other, and that's going to slow them down again as we come into the final part of the chicane. And the American's trying to make a move onto the outside of the Brazilians. He gets onto the grass, and the Argentinian has to serve his penalty there. So we go onto the outside of the Volkswagen, and we are now in the podium. So this might actually turn out to be a good race if we could try to get around the Porsche and the Mustang here as we come into the hairpin. So coming to the hairpin, the Brazilian tries to make a move onto the outside, but that actually costs him there. But we try to get a cutback on him, but if we would have kept going, we would have made contact with the Brazilian, so we back out of the move there. And as we are now jumping into the S's here, we're just following the Brazilian, the American, as we are just trying to bide our time here and see if we could try to make an opportunity on the final corners to make an overtake as we come into the 4 fast right-handers. So coming to the 4 fast right-handers, the American aggressively makes a defensive move right there, as I don't think he should have made the defensive move, as the Brazilian had to slow down a lot. We make contact with the Brazilian, and we are now following the Brazilian going into the straightaway here, and we're just a little too far back to try to make any type of move, so we're just gonna have to follow them and see if we can try to get a good run down the straightaway and see if we could try to make a move onto turn number 1 or into the chicane. So the Brazilian gets a good cutback here as the Mustang ruins his line there, and the Brazilian is able to overtake the American, and we are now following both of them as we come into turn number 1 as the American is trying to make a move onto the inside of the Brazilian. He has to back out of there as we're getting now pressured by 4th place. So the Argentinian is down the inside of us as we come into the chicane. We hit some rumble strip and we actually get a little bit loose, make contact with the Argentinian, and we spin out, and that is race over again as this is like the 4th or 5th time I spun out today. And you can just see that we are now demoted into 6th place right behind the Red Beetle as we are jumping to the final lap, coming to the final part of the chicane, or no, not to the final part, but to the chicane. We're trying to catch up to the Red Beetles. We're just trying to see if we can make a move overtake on him before we hit the hairpin, but the Beetle actually gets loose, and look at how close it was before we made contact with him. We actually did not, and we're able to get around the Beetle as he made a costly mistake there, and we are able to finish this race in 5th place. After just like I said, I've just been having a really rough day, so I'll take a 5th place. I haven't been able to finish anywhere better than 7th, so definitely happy to take this 5th place, especially because of everything that was going on in this race. But I mean, like I said, I've just been struggling with today, and not some of my brightest videos, not some of my biggest highlights, but I just wanted to show you guys that I am human and I do have these off days, and it's not always perfect for me. Like I said, I can always learn the track and get better at it, but sometimes it takes a very, very steep learning curve to learn the track and get better at the race in order to become a lot better and finishing in good position. So hope you guys saw that even I make mistakes. Hopefully allows you guys to feel a little bit better whenever you guys do make mistakes, and you guys do mess up on your races, as again, everyone is human. We all make mistakes, and eventually you'll get over that steep learning curve and you'll be fast, trust me. So if you guys found this video very entertaining of me just screwing up left and right, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. It really helps that channel when you guys do so, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.